Magical Souls, it's Marie here, and in today's video I am going to answer the question, what is the secret sauce to staying motivated? And this idea of motivation comes up quite a lot when people ask me, how do I stay motivated? And sometimes we don't feel it, right? And we can watch other people do things, create things, move ahead, and sometimes we can feel really stuck. So I've got four ways I want to share with you that I personally use, and you can let me know if you've tried them, what you feel or how you think about them, and encourage you to give them a go if you haven't already tried. So number one then is I've actually stopped trying to motivate myself. So motivation used to be something I lived and breathed with. It was what got me through like all the hurdles in life in my 20s when I qualified as a lawyer and I was kind of fighting against the odds. And that was kind of how I previously lived. And so everything about how I lived was very push. I had to motivate myself. I had to use willpower. And actually after doing that for years, I now know a different and better way, but it actually exhausts you. It can actually feel really like an uphill struggle, because what we're trying to do is tap in to forcing and pushing ourselves and motivating ourselves. And when we have to motivate ourselves all the time, how fun is that? Like maybe you're doing that now, maybe you have done that. How fun is the creative process? So the first thing, number one then, is I have personally just dropped even trying to motivate myself. I've just let it go. And I'll share a few other ways that I do it instead. So number two, instead of using motivation, I tap into myself on a deeper soul level. So if you've seen any of my other content, you'll know I'm all about this. And I really believe that there's so much more to us than obviously being a human, right? So we have a soul blueprint, we have a deep knowing inside of us what we came here to create, and the things inside of us that are really wanting to be kind of created and shared with the world, or actions that we have inside of us. So sometimes we don't know how to access that. So I use a really great journaling prompt that I've been using for a couple of years now, and it never lets me down. So I want to share with you. I've just written it down so I get the exact wording because I forget it sometimes. So literally, instead of using motivation, I've written this question out in my journal, which I invite you to do the same, is soul, how can I move forwards on my journey today? Or soul, how can I expand forwards today? Word it however resonates with you, and then allow yourself to write out the answer. I mean, you can sit there and reflect, but I find that if you write out the answer, you get some truths and some information that you wouldn't ordinarily get from just thinking about it. So, soul, how can I allow myself to move forward on my journey? And you're tapping into this deeper part of you that already has the answers, doesn't need motivation, because it's just the truth of what is calling you. And it feels so much better. You can breathe, you can just hear the answer. And depending on the level of, experience, you might find that this will take a bit of practice. Some of you might find you can just tap into it straight away. But I definitely encourage you to practice this, because it is a deep connection to yourself. And this is how I feel like now when I create quite a lot of content. I create quite a lot of things. I wrote my book in a fairly short time. And I do produce quite a lot of content for my social media and my business. So if I was relying on motivation all the time, I would just fizzle out. I would not have the energy and the enthusiasm. But when I know and I tap into myself on this soul level, I receive answers that guide me, And then the second part to that question is actually then when you hear the answers, we've also got to take the action. We've got to actually go do that, right? Allow ourselves to take the action. But the taking the action bit, when you've connected to yourself on a much more deeper soul level, you'll feel the difference in energy. This is all energetics, right? You'll feel that you won't have to push yourself, because deep inside of you, this is what's calling you, right? So it's a beautiful, I think, energetic shift, a great way to up level, excuse me, how you're living and creating. I love that question. And it feels more aligned, definitely more aligned and much more powerful. And then number three is an alternative question that I say to myself on the days where I actually do feel less than, say, enthusiastic or maybe less energetic, because of course we have our ebbs and flows, right? So I have an energy type which is sort of more on the inconsistent basis, being a projector, for those of you who know human design. So my energy works in ebbs and flows, and I understand that about myself. So there are certain days where I won't necessarily feel like showing up and doing things compared to a day where I really would genuinely, soul and heart, want to do that. So I have a different question to ask myself. If I do feel like, oof, I'm not feeling so great today, and this is what I highly encourage you to try out yourself. And it's when I write this out in my journal and I say, I know I feel ... today. So I know I feel exhausted today, or I know I feel sad today, or I know I feel frustrated today, whatever it is. I know I feel ... today. But if I were to live from my higher self on my highest timeline today, what would I then choose to be doing today? And then I allow myself to do it. So I'll just repeat that. I know I feel ... today, but if I were to live from my higher self on my highest timeline today, what would I then choose to be doing today? So it's dropping down into acknowledging I feel tired, I feel exhausted, I feel whatever it is, right? You could have had something happen, or whatever comes up in life. So you're acknowledging that. And I really don't believe that we need to be bypassing that, and we want to honor and acknowledge how we feel. But then we're tapping into, even though I feel that, if I was choosing to step into my higher self, on my highest timeline, what would I be choosing today? And just a little kind of addition to this, the answer to this will not necessarily be go and do it anyway, right? So sometimes you might get an answer that says, even though you feel a bit annoyed and a bit deflated about this other thing, what's actually aligned for you today is to go and do that thing anyway. That might be the answer, but it doesn't always have to be the answer, because sometimes that answer is going to be allow yourself to have a day off, allow yourself to take it easy today, allow you, whatever it is. So just hear the guidance. But again, we're coming out of this old paradigm of you have to motivate yourself and you have to feel the same way every day. Like I don't, and I create a lot and I get a lot done. I achieve a lot. So I want you to know that it can look really different. We don't have to motivate ourselves in the way that we've been taught and the way that's really familiar, with kind of how we've always been doing it. So I love that question. Sometimes it could be full on doing, sometimes it could be more gentle, but again, you're tuning into yourself on a soul level, but you're hearing the deeper answers. And it's okay, because you're going to have different answers on different days. And if you're anything like me, you might even have those days where you just create and you do a lot compared to other days. So I have lots of days where I don't do that. And then when I do, I really do. That's just my energy type. So we get to kind of throw the rule book out here and really create and not, it's more like inspire ourselves to take aligned action, where we don't have to rely on this head-based motivation, because it's very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very like it's not sustainable to do it that way. And then number 4, I use, and then on the days where I really do feel kind of like the emotions, or I feel like an energetic kind of heaviness or something that really does need my attention, or I just really don't feel like moving on something, even though I know that it feels aligned, because that can be something, sometimes that happens, is I use EFT and I tap. I do some tapping on myself to shift, acknowledge the feelings that I have, get to the core issue of what it is. Maybe it's a fear, or maybe it's some kind of little block or something that's, a little mindset thing that's coming in. So I get to kind of acknowledge it and release the energy of it. So that, and for those of you who don't know about EFT, it's involving tapping on acupressure points. If you'd like me to do a video on that, if you don't know what it is, please comment below and I'll be more than happy to create a video on EFT tapping and stuff around that. But that's what I use. So those 4 things, secret sauce to motivating. I don't really motivate myself. I ask myself a couple of different questions. I check in with how I'm feeling. I tap if I need to. I journal when I need to. And this level of connecting to myself, it really allows me to keep on moving forward with my mission, with my journey, with my growth. And that's what we want to do, right? Doesn't mean we have to be on all the time, but we want to allow ourselves to be able to move and not get stuck in this back and forth or lack of what we call motivation. or stuckness. So perhaps you can allow yourself to just release the idea of motivating yourself, tap into some of these energies and perspectives, and feel free to let me know. I would love to know. So drop me a comment below if you would love to share any thoughts. If you have any questions about anything that's come up today in today's video, let me know and we can talk some more about it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. All right, take care.